Hello everybody, Bruce here with a tips and tricks video for Module 7, problem set number 11. There are two problems, both worth 50 points in this problem set, so let's take a look at the instructions for problem 1. Tell me about this list. So this problem says, ask a user for a number and then determine what numbers in the list of numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are larger than the number entered by the user. Assign the number entered by the user to a variable named n. Okay? So I gave you some starter code to look at here, where I gave you the main function and the larger than function to start with. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to give you the code, but I'm going to write out in comments what I think you need to do. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove pass here, and I'm going to remove pass here. So here we go. The main function defines a list of numbers 0 through 10. On line 10, we're getting a number from the user 0 through 10. We're converting it into an integer and storing it right here, right? So let me just go back to the instructions for one quick second. I want to make sure that I do this correctly. So let's see. Okay. In a Python program, write a function named larger than. Okay, next section. You pass the list of numbers to the function larger than, along with the value of the variable n. Okay? The list should contain the numbers 0 through 10, which it does. The function should create a new empty list and add to this list any numbers that are greater than n. The larger than function should then display all of the numbers using a loop. Okay, so let's start there. Okay, I know there's more stuff down here. So here we go, back to the Python. So there's the list of numbers, there's n. So what we need to do now is we need to call the larger than function with list of numbers, right? And n as parameters, right? As parameters, right? So that's the first thing you need to do, is you're going to need to call the larger than function with two parameters, list of numbers and n, okay? So that's what you need to do there, okay? So let's say we did that. So here we are up in the larger than function. It says your code goes here. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete this right here, okay? So here we are in the larger than function, and it told us to create a new list, right? So we're going to create a new list named new list. We'll just do that. And set it to be empty, which is just the opening and closing square brackets, right? So what we need to do then is we need to loop through the list of numbers, the list that we got passed in the function here. So loop through the list one element at a time, and then use a decision structure to determine if current element we are, I'll do it down here, looping through is greater than n, okay? If it is greater than n, then append that number, right, the one being iterated through, to a new list, okay? So again, let me go through this one more time. We're going to loop through the list that got passed in one element at a time. So for, right, it's a simple for loop for I in the list, right? For I in the list, or for number in list, or just some basic iteration here. through a list using a for loop. No range, no nothing, right? Just for I in the list, and that'll give you each of the numbers one at a time. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then inside the loop, we're going to use a decision structure to determine if the current element we are looping through, which is going to be these numbers one at a time, is greater than the number n that got entered and passed into the function by the user. If it is, right, we're still within the loop here, just so you know, right? If I just tab these in here, you can see that there's the loop. Here's our decision structure, and here's where we're going to append that number to the list only if it's greater than n, right? All right, so I think that's that part of the problem. So let's go back to the instructions. And now it says at the end of the larger than function, it says here the larger than function should then display all of the numbers using a loop. So loop through every element in new list, right, which is a list, and print it out. Print it out. Not a single print statement, but a loop with a print statement, all right? So let me do this. Loop through every element in new list, right? And then, print out the element in new list, right? All right. So that's that. So we have 2 loops so far, and notice how I did the indentation to help you all out, okay? Back to the instructions. So at the end of the larger than function, have a return statement that sends back the string done. All right, so return done, right? And again, I just made, sorry about that. I wanted to do something here like that. All right, when I save it, the formatter tries to do things for me. So it just wants me to return the string done, right? So that's that. Now, go back to the instructions and it says done. In the main function, print out the string sent back from the larger than function using print. So what that means down here is when we call, right, I'm on line 24, call the larger than function, what you need to do is create there's 2 different ways to do this. One is you can create, say, a variable, and then call your larger than function with list of numbers, right? List of numbers and n, right? And then get that value back from this function and then just print out x. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is just have a print statement that calls, wow, I'm doing some of the work here for you. Larger than, is that the name of the function? Larger than, right? Where I pass in list of numbers, right? List of, I can't type today. I can't type. List of numbers, right? Along with n, right? So you could do that as well. So I'll leave that problem right there. I think I gave you plenty of info on that problem. So let's go on to the next problem. Okay, property tax. Let's see. By the way, they want you to include a section of comments that identifies all the inputs, processes, and outputs. And I believe it wanted you to do that for the first problem too. Don't forget it, and don't forget to put your name in the problem, right? Your name, right? Your name, okay? Your name, okay? Let's go back to the instructions. So you have been asked to develop a Python program that will assist a clerk who works at the Clark County Assessor's Office, that will assist them calculating property tax for a given list of properties. The list is printed out by the clerk on paper. Don't use a Python list for this problem. It's not needed. So when the clerk gets a list, they're getting like a sheet of paper with a bunch of stuff on it, not what you know as a Python list, okay? So what we need to do is we need to calculate the property tax for a given property, okay? Given this formula where you have the value of the property and you multiply it times 1.7%, right? 0.017, right? So it says, in your interview with the tax clerk, Bruce, that's me, you learn that each property is, that's a typo, is assigned a lot number, and all lot numbers are 1 or greater, right? 1 or greater. You decided to write a while loop that uses the number 0 as a sentinel value. During each loop iteration, the program will ask the clerk to enter either a property's lot number, 525, 9050, or just 0 to end the loop. Within the while loop, you will need to ask the user for a value of the property to be used with the property tax calculation over here on line 19, okay? So you will need to keep processing lots until the clerk is done using 0 as a sentinel. So I gave you the tax processor function, and I gave you this right here. So let's just stub this out. So the first thing we need to do is ask for the lot number, right? Ask for the lot number and store it in a variable, right? And again, that's an integer, right? It's, we'll just say int, right? It's an integer, right? Because that's what we want. A lot number, you can't have lot 50.5. I mean, you could, but in this problem, you don't, okay? So you need to get input and convert that input to an integer. Next, you need to create a while loop. Create a while loop that checks to make sure that lot number is greater than 0, right? Greater than 0, right? Because if it's 0, right? Actually, we can say not equal to 0, just like I did there. Not equal to 0. And then inside of the loop, you're going to ask for the property value. You're then going to then you're going to calculate the property tax using the formula above. And then you're going to display the property tax. I think that's what it asks you for. And then you need to ask again for a lot number, right? That's it. So that's problem set 11. I hope this video helps. I'm going to be adding it in the assignment, and I'll post it on Slack as well. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will have another separate video for problem set 12.